Hey everyone, I'm Tony from SB Recording Studio. Welcome back. It's been a while that tea in my Elvis cup. It's been a while that I posted anything. I've been quite busy, thank God. The studio's been picking up, and I wanted to answer a question that was asked to me on Facebook. It says, Tony, how do you get the sounds of the drums? Like, how do you capture the sounds of like your drums, like when you record? And how many microphones do you use? So that got me thinking, and then another guy asked me what type of microphones I use. So I decided to do a video to cover both. So this is what I'm going to do today. I recorded a drum track with 12 microphones, and that's like on a regular 6-piece kit, meaning two toms, 2 floor toms, 1 snare drums, and the bass drum. And then I ended up putting 12 microphones, and that's what's because nowadays you use about 11 to 12 microphones to get the sounds. And when I first started, I was using maybe 5 or 6 microphones. So I decided to do the setup of 5 microphones, and then on top of that I added the other 7 microphones on top of that. 5 or 6 microphones I used to use, and I added the other 6 on top, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between the drums mic'd with 6 or 7 microphones versus the 11 microphone setup that I use nowadays. Mind you, I don't always use 12 microphones depending on the drum kit and what type of sound I'm looking for, but usually I used to use about 6 or 7 microphones depending. Nowadays I use about 12 to 13 depending if it's a double bass drums or whatever. So first let me show you what type of microphones I use. Now, for my top of the snare drum, my trusty SM57, which is like industry's dynamic microphones nowadays. You could throw this on top of a snare drum, on top of an amplifier, and it does the job. This is the go-to microphone for my snare on top, because I usually use one at the bottom too. So now, and I actually discovered these little microphones, these pile microphones. They kind of look like SM57s. They're actually called PDMIC. I guess it's for PD Microphone 78, and they're also dynamic microphones. As you can see, they look like the SM57s. They're metal like the SM57s, but they're really not expensive. And I was debating at first how to purchase them, if I should buy them or not. But I figured, hey, $15 couldn't go wrong. I tried one, and I tried one on the snare drum. It sounded pretty good, but then when I actually put it on the tom, overhead tom, like the 2 toms here on top, they sounded amazing. So I went and I ordered myself a second one. I tried it on the floor toms, but versus the kit I'm going to show you guys, I found that the other microphones that I had for that sounded better. But yeah, PD Mic 78 from Pyle. Awesome for the money. And just to let you guys know, all this setup is costing me below $500. So just to let you guys know, also you don't need like a $1,200 microphones for your drums to have a great sounding sound. Sorry, great drumming sound. I'm trying to reach out for these microphones here. Okay, then for my 12 microphone setup, I actually discovered online. It's called OOO microphones. I guess this is what the box looks like. I also got these on Amazon, and they're kind of neat. They're very powerful microphone. This one is the BM800, and then it comes with a little cover, a pop filter, the things to hook it up to the stand. And I usually use this about if the actual drums have the bass drum actually has a hole inside. I'll use the other microphone. I'll stick it on, and I'll put this one in front, about maybe a foot and a half in the front. I use these as my second bass drum microphone to capture the outside. And I actually even use these as room microphones, believe it or not. I take these and then I stick it about maybe a foot or 2 off the ground, and like way in front of again the microphones. How I set these up is I try to the actual drummer is playing, and then I can stand in front of him and I move around and I go back and forth, and where like I feel like it sounds good, that's what I will usually place this mic, because you know, drums are all about dynamics, so all depends on how the drummer plays. If you're too close, it sounds too loud. If you're, because especially if he's a loud player, and if he's a soft player, well, the drums are gonna sound better when it's close. Okay, so now for the other drums, screaming black. Now for the other drums, the rest of the drum kit, I actually got this neat little kit online. Let me move this. We don't want to have this to hit the ground. It was, this company is made by Neewer, believe it or not, Neewer, and I've never heard of this brand before. But when I went online looking for microphones, these ones had awesome reviews. It comes obviously with a bass drum microphone, which is try to get it out of here like this. So it looks like, and I actually use this also for bass recording, bass amps. Very, very good frequency for that. Awesome. And this is the one that I'll usually put inside the bass drum. If I use a single microphone, that's what I'm going to use. And then I use the OOO on there, and I put it on the outside. And it comes with like these two little bigger microphones, which these I usually use for floor toms. And I have like this, comes with two of those. Then I have two little small ones that kind of picks up the highest frequency, so I'll usually use this at the bottom of the snare drum, and I will, if I have to, I'll use one of these for the hi-hat. I'll actually put one about maybe 6-8 inches away from the hi-hat, depending on the style of playing. And it comes with two condenser microphones, believe it or not. So and this kit was about $160 something, not more than that, and sounds great for the money. And yeah, you may need to EQ it a bit more, but hey, it is a $165 microphone kit, right? Unless you want to pay $1,500, chances are you're still gonna have to EQ it anyway. So right, so that's the microphones that I actually use. Oh yeah, and then sometimes I'll try to grab some microphones depending if I feel that the drums need more, I don't know, beefy, more sound, then I'll try to grab those, put out two stands and put them like across the room just to capture the overall sound of the room. I may do that. I don't often do that, but I'll do that especially like if I have a kit, especially double bass kits. You know, some of the bigger recordings that I've done where I have 15, 16 microphones, where you kind of need that little overall sound, because since the drum is so big, it's so spread apart that you kind of don't get, you know, the full sound from either a floor microphone or something like that. So I'll use that across the room. On that setup that you're gonna hear now that we're gonna jump inside PreSonus, is I had a bass drum inside, a bass microphone inside the bass drum, which is the Neewer one, the gold mic, the OOO outside, I guess that's what you should call it, outside. I had my SM57 on top of the snare drum. I had my two pile on top of each toms. I had my Neewer tom microphones, the bigger ones, on the floor toms. I had the smaller microphone underneath the snare drum, and I had my two overhead condensers. So what I do is I'm gonna play you guys the drum set with 6 microphones and 12 microphones, and you guys can see the difference. You guys can still see that you can still get a good, decent sounding sound with only 6 microphones. Obviously the 12 microphones is awesome. As I say, I got this for about around like no more than $500, which is still a lot cheaper than some microphone setups, microphone recording. Obviously $1,500 versus $500, that one is gonna sound better. But hey, if it's a small recording studio and it's for your own personal use, and even high, that I record some artists that some songs are released out there, and I still use these microphones, the drums still sound great. So let's have another sip of my tea, and we should jump right into PreSonus, and let's take a look at the session. Okay, here we are inside the session. So let's see how the whole drum set sounds like. Let's see if we're at the proper place here. Yeah, let's start this like this. Okay, let's put this bigger. Here we go. So yeah, that's the drum. That's me playing actually. It's not that bad, but hey, Of course, if someone more professional will probably sound better, right? So let's say this will be my 12, actually 12 microphones, actually 13 if you count this one being two of them, but the big setup. So let's go as if you wouldn't have an outside bass drum. So let's mute that one, an outside bass drum microphone. Let's say you wouldn't have a snare bottom. You would all your tom microphones were there. You wouldn't have a hi-hat microphone, and you wouldn't have the room microphone. So basically, you would have your two overheads and one microphone on each piece of the drum set. So this is what it would sound like. As you can see, it still sounds pretty good. So now I'm gonna play the simple kit, and then I'm gonna add these 4 or 5 extra microphones and see here's the sound difference between both of them. As you can see, not much of a difference, but you could see that with the 12 setup microphones, the bass drum comes out a bit more, right? Because that's what that microphone does, because it actually catches the extra boominess. The snare is snappier because obviously you're catching the bottom of the snare. The hi-hat has more sizzle, and the room microphones actually creates bigger ambience. It doesn't mean that I set up a drum this way that I would use every single every single microphone inside the mix. Chances are it happened actually partially last week. I was actually mixing drums for a band, and I had 2 microphones, and I had the room microphone, and I had these big microphones, and I actually ended up removing that one of the mix because it made the drum set way too boomy. So like I say, I record, it's better more to have, and then you could remove afterward. Then you record, said, oh man, I wish I would have put that there. So I always like to put more, and then I may use everything. I may not use every recorded microphone, every single drum track. But in this one, I think that we nailed this one right on the button. As you can see, not a lot of plugins. You know, get it right, because at the source, it's actually a guy that kept saying that I still follow on YouTube. His name is Joe Gilder, awesome guy. I learned a lot from the guy, and he keeps saying get it right at the source. And as you can see, just the basic plugins on toms. You see the snare bottom stayed the same, snare top bit, the second microphone on the drum bass stayed nothing on. Tom 3, the hi-hat, I put nothing on there, and you actually see a difference when you turn those on and off. So get it right at the source. So to basically conclude this 12, can you still have an amazing recording with 6 microphones instead of 12s? Yes, you could. Obviously, you can. And if you take the 6 microphone setup, it's probably no more than $300, big max. So hopefully this helped you guys out, and then it helped you guys decide either what, do I do a big setup, a 12 microphone setup, and how does Tony do it there? Like, that's the way I do it, guys. It all depends. I put not as much mics as possible, so as much mics that I feel it needs, because obviously if a guy comes in with like double bass, 12 mics won't be enough. I'm probably gonna end up putting 16 on it, and then from there on I use some of them, and some of them I don't use, or I just may end up using everything. Hope this helps you guys out, and don't forget to subscribe for any upcoming videos. See you guys soon.